Information and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live. 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Every week we talk about something that will help you make a little money, save a little money, or maybe just help you navigate this crazy world that we live in. And boy, is it crazy. We're dealing with mortgages, we're dealing with insurance, we're dealing with selling houses, taking longer on the market. And one of the biggest things that we talk about every day in the real estate market is insurance. And with me today is Brandon Felder, and he is with the Felder Group. And he is the one that we call every time we say, help us with our insurance, get us a better deal, save a deal. He just saved a deal for me. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Yes, so had a deal that I was working on this past week, and this is, I always like to tell good stories. Had a deal I was working on this past week, and the guy had sold his house with another realtor, and they had an offer on my listing, and we had the bad name panels, Federal Pacific.
You can say them. I think they're out of business. So
bad name panels, like if you Google it, right? I always have to tell my clients, like, Google it. Like, they don't believe me. Google it. So anyway, they came back and said, this is what the insurance is going to be. And I said, well, we are getting a new roof for you, so I don't think that that's true. So I sent it to Brandon. Brandon went ahead and put up some quotes together. And I said, can you send it to me? I sent it to the lender. I just went directly to the lender. I did not stop at the other agent, went to the lender. Lender says, oh, I think I can, because they were sending cancellation of contract, basically telling me that they are, going to have to cancel the deal. So they sent me cancellation of the deal.
Because they couldn't get insurance.
Well, they could get insurance, but they said it was too high.
Yeah.
It knocked out his debt to income ratio. And I was like, okay, I don't sit still. I don't allow that to just happen. I'm going to still try, right? And we didn't do anything funny.
No.
It was all legit. Like, it's a real policy, not like, some people will finagle things, right?
Not me.
No, but we weren't doing that.
Yeah.
This is what your policy is going to be. So I want to thank you for saving that deal this week.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that that's just something to tell our audience, that they should definitely give you a call. That, like the other day I had somebody ask me, hey, this insurance guy, he's writing a very low policy. Do you know somebody else? I gave them your name and number. So, again, I think it's knowledge is power, and you definitely have that. And you're young, so you're very
out there.
Yeah, so that's great. So I wanted to talk about today, though, not just about how wonderful you are. I know you like that.
We can talk about that.
But I wanted to just talk about how it seems like, and I could be wrong, it's maybe the one positive thing right now, is that it seems like insurance quotes are coming down a little bit. Am I delusional?
No. So, what we're seeing is definitely a softening market. And so
in a good way.
Yeah, we kind of saw this coming. So one thing that we saw underwriting guidelines loosen up a little bit, which is usually the first sign that, okay, things might be getting a little bit better. And then we're seeing rates come down a little bit. Now, if you have a renewal and it goes up, there's so many factors that go into rating a policy.
And I think a lot of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, they don't, listen, I want my people to be committed to me. I want your people to be committed to you. But not everybody's you can't be committed to the same thing, because sometimes other agents have better policies and don't write know how to do it right.
Yeah. So what I've learned in business overall is is knowledge is power, and it really matters who you know.
Right.
And, as a broker, I go shop with a bunch of different companies, and I have to go and make relationships with these companies that I can get things approved, but then also I have to have access to those companies. And so it's kind of like, if you're buying a car and you only go to Honda and Ford, but you don't go to Honda, Ford, Toyota, and Mercedes. And so some agents only have Honda and Ford. Some agents only have Ford and Mercedes. And you got to find an agent that has good access. But also, a lot of agents have access. Access isn't always the issue. It's, well, I've got a guy at Ford, or I've got a guy at Honda that I can talk to them in underwriting to say, hey, can we push this through? Could we get an exception? Could we get something fixed after closing in order to get the policy done?
Okay. Because, like I said, I've noticed that everybody writes with different carriers.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny, like I'll have a client say, well, I have TipTap. And
Yeah.
I'm able to say, well, they're not writing right now.
Yeah.
So even though you have it, they're not going to transfer the policy to the new buyer.
Correct. And sometimes it gets a little funky because they could say, well, I have TipTap, and TipTap was writing in Broward County 2 years ago, but now they're not. They'll renew policies, but they won't do new business.
And do we know why that is, or?
Well, in a roundabout way, yeah. I mean, a lot of times people look at things in a micro level. So they'll say about their auto or their home insurance, I never made a claim, I never had an accident, I never had, never called the insurance company for anything. Why are my rates going up? And the insurance companies, they're looking at the micro, but they're also looking at the macro. And a lot of times individuals aren't looking at the macro. And the macro says a lot of data, a lot of pure data of, we had this many losses or claims in this zip code. We had this many types of claims in this zip code. We can see that in Coral Springs or Boca or these neighborhoods that all the pipes are breaking because we're all getting these pipe claims for this neighbor. And so then they'll say, well, we're going to shut off this area or this zip code or whatever. And they're going to say, we're not going to sell any new policies. We'll renew you, but we're not going to sell you something new. And so they're looking at all the claims data. And even on the auto side, there's so much data there that, they're looking at. A lot of times people will say to me, I've never made a claim. I've been with whatever insurance company for 30 years, auto insurance, never made a claim, never had an accident, never had a speeding ticket. Why are my rates going up? Well, Mr. Sir, you just turned 70 and the macro data says that your likelihood of having an accident goes up.
I see what you're saying.
As your vision blurs and as your memory blurs and things. So again, it's micro and macro that they're looking at, and that really makes a big difference. And that's what leads into their decisions of saying, hey, we're gonna accept things in certain areas or not.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good information to know, right? Okay. So we're talking about rates. You're saying that rates right now are softening a little bit.
Correct.
I had something happen the other day where a client said to me, and I love giving people information, and they said, well, this has no shutters. You can't get insurance.
I love
it. Wasn't
hearing
impact
that.
either.
Yeah, I mean, here's what happens.
I know that's not real, so I was able to. But imagine how many people have this misinformation.
Same thing with the micro and macro. A lot of times people look at their micro situation, their situation, and they'll say, "Hey, my insurance company canceled me because my roof is 15 years old." So they're just going to say, well, I'm going to superimpose that on everyone. And that means everybody's getting insurance canceled at 15 years old roofs.
I've had those come into my open houses.
Insurance companies won't take homes that have roofs that are 15 years old. And really, they're just taking their situation and superimposing it on everybody else. And that's not the way it works. There's tons of carriers that'll take roofs over 15 years old. They might have certain rules around it or whatever it is. But that's what happens, is they're just taking their situation and saying this is how it is. And consumers do that a lot. Consumers will say, I had this experience with this airline, and so that's just how the airline is, but it was probably just a one scenario.
I don't know. Is the S airline always on time?
I've had great experiences. My brother has, but then there's people that haven't. But
how often do you fly?
Yeah, I don't fly a lot. I hate flying, and I have to fly next month. And I'm like,
to make relationships with one of those carriers.
No, I'm just going on a trip with my wife.
But
I'm like,
it sounded good.
No. But yeah, I mean, so, this is where having somebody in your corner as the broker that's relational and not transactional. Same thing with real estate. I was just telling one of the guys in my office this, and I say it all the time. I'm a pretty young guy, and a lot of my generation and the generation, younger than me, they don't want to work. Right. And so many people don't want to work. And I've said to people, we just have to work a little bit harder because the gap
But here's the thing. If your generation doesn't want to work, right, and you're saying you do, right, that's great, right?
Yeah.
How are they ever going to afford a house? Because it's already so hard.
They're going to rent, and we're seeing that. But what I'm saying is we just have to work a little bit harder.
Who the hell are we going to sell these houses to?
We just have to work a little bit harder, and we're going to do so much better than the rest because people don't want to work. But really, the work isn't. It's everybody wants to have friends, and everybody wants to hang out with people. And that's what's great about what we do is we've become friends in doing this. And it's all about the relationships that you have with people. And we have, I say this a little bit proudly. I know when a customer comes to me or when a customer comes to you, if they have a problem, we've got someone with a solution.
That's what's so important is coming up with a solution. There's never problems.
Yeah.
There's always solutions.
Always.
And that, I felt good that when I was able to save that deal, and I would hope that the homeowner knew that it's because of me that deal was saved.
But it's because you're relational.
But you want to hear something crazy? I have to tell you, and because I know you have a real estate license too, right? And so you understand.
For it.
Yeah, no, I get it. But you're going to send them to me. Okay, Andy. No, I'm just kidding. We know the real estate relations, right? And we know what we have to do. But I laugh, right? I went on a listing appointment. The wife signed the paperwork. She was ready. I never met with the husband. He was sick when I went.
Okay.
And I said, you really need to put the roof on before going to market. It's 30 years old. Buyers are not going to really want to buy it with that. Blah, blah, blah. That upset him.
Okay? The husband.
Yeah.
The sick husband.
Well, he was sick, just sick with the flu or something.
Yeah.
I think he had COVID. So wait. The wife calls me and she says, listen, he doesn't think that your marketing strategy with this is right. It's not my marketing strategy. It's me knowing the market, right?
Yeah.
So the other day I decided to look up to see if the house sold, right? House is listed with a second realtor now, and new roof has been put on.
Oh, so
because you know what happened.
Yeah.
People don't, first of all, it was a small house, so it was probably a $22,000 roof. Is it a lot of money? Yes. Was it a lot of money to these people? They've owned this home for a long time.
Yeah.
No. Is that a lot of money to a buyer?
A ton.
It's a ton of money.
$100 to some buyers. They're freaking out over it.
Right, but the thing is that typical closing, it was like a $500,000 house. The typical closing costs on a $500,000 house is probably $20,000.
Yeah.
So the roof costs more than what you can get back in closing costs. So that's not really an option. And then you're going to have to put the roof on afterwards. And what buyers are scared about is how much decking do I need to replace? How much fascia after they go to rip the roof off? What is the unknown underneath when we get to that point? And sellers don't want to give you more than the estimate.
Yeah.
So in the end, I laugh. I'm sure it was embarrassment to come back to me because I was right.
They came back to you?
No, they went to another realtor. And it's funny. They came to me.
They were probably just embarrassed to come back to you.
Right, but they came to me saying, we see you're one of the top agents.
Yeah.
And it's they didn't want to listen to he didn't want to listen to my recommendations. So, we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about insurance, and we're going to talk about some of the great stories of what Brandon's done for other people. And stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Max Fish, a top 1% mortgage loan officer in the nation, will give you a same-day qualifying quote. Max Fish is committed to providing his customers with mortgage services that exceed their expectations. Ensuring that you make the right choice for you and your family is his ultimate goal. Contact Max Fish today at 954-729-6933 or max.fisch@nwmcorp.net.
At JK Closing Attorneys, we do all of the same things that a title company does, but with the benefits of being a law office. We can help with residential real estate, short sales, commercial real estate, refinances, 1031 exchanges, and FIRPTA withholding.
Contact JK Closing Attorneys today at 954-332-3111. Again, that is 954-332-3111.
Priority One Credit Union of Florida is a welcoming credit union that makes your financial success our #1 priority. We offer lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, and common sense local loan approvals, with nationwide access through shared branching.
Hi, I'm Dina Hennessy, President and CEO at Priority One Credit Union. We are open to the community. Anyone can be a member of our credit union, and we would love to have you.
Contact us today at 954-335-5100. You can also reach us at PriorityOneFL.org. Your financial success is our priority. That's 954-335-5100.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at theloracell.com. And now back to the show.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. So here we are, we're talking about insurance. Another crazy thing that we have to navigate in this real estate madness, right? You know, we have bad panels, Federal Pacific, Zinsco, Challenger, but it matters what Challenger panel it is. Apparently it's got like an A, B, C, I don't even know.
Matters what carrier it is, more than anything.
Well, funny story, right? Not so funny if you're me. The chaos I get. I sold a house that was built in 1997. I think I sent you an email on this.
Okay.
The deal closes, and I get an email from the buyer. Now, he's not my buyer. I was the listing agent. And the buyer says, you need to pay me for the panel because I bought a house with a panel that is no good, and I can't get insurance. Now, he's currently in insurance. It's good till the end of the year. The carrier says, at the end of the policy, either change the panels or we're going to drop you. Mm-hmm. I say to him, well, I forward it off to you. You send back, no problem. We can cover this. We'll get you insurance. It wasn't anything ridiculous in price, right? And I send it back, and of course, crickets, because...
You were right.
Right. But here's the funnier part. And you know this, being in the business. They had a home inspection. Why? I'm not an inspector. Like, I didn't even realize it was one of the bad panels, and it wasn't actually. Apparently, the home inspector said there's like different variances of that panel, and if it was made within a certain time frame, made the determination. So obviously, it's important to have information.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a buyer, I get, you know, I always tell my sellers like, hey, this is going to come up, or hey, that panel I never thought would come up. Not to mention, she had put a brand new kitchen in. If it was bad, they would have made her upgrade it.
Yeah.
You know, she had new air conditioners.
You know, one thing that I think you do a really good job at is you're knowledgeable, but you don't step over the line. And I think a lot of times, you know, we deal with inspectors or insurance agents or realtors or loan officers that try to speak as if they're the other professional. And so I see that most often with inspectors. Inspectors will speak and talk like they're insurance agents. And again, we talked about this before the commercial break, how people will superimpose things that happened to them or that they heard. Oh, my friend had this with their insurance policy. Nobody can get insurance on the house with a roof over 15 years old. Inspectors will hear that, and then they'll do the same exact thing.
They'll mimic it. Yeah.
And then they'll put it into their reports. And, you know, hiring a good inspector, which I know the inspector you use, they're good. You know, hiring a good inspector is so important because they're not insurance agents, and they'll say, you know, this Challenger panel, if it's from this year, they'll take it. They led those people wrong completely.
Right.
It's about the carrier. If the carrier is going to accept the Challenger panel.
You always say it depends on the.
It depends on the carrier, and carriers don't care if it's Challenger ABC. They care about, is it Challenger?
Right.
And so, you know, it's so important who you work with.
Right, but how that comes back to me and not the inspector is what I find to be comical.
I think, you know, and we see this, you see this, people always want to they always want to blame somebody. You know, whether it's in business or personal or somebody's sick, was it the doctor? They want to know why. And I think that's natural for us as people to want to know why. And so they want to say that it's, you know, if they can get you to pay for it, hey, why not shoot her an email? There's no loss to me here.
Right.
And you handled it right because you got someone involved.
I always get the information so that I can answer intelligently.
You know, there's Federal Pacific, there's
Zinsco.
Sylvania Zinsco, which is kind of one, and Challenger. And those are like the big three.
Okay.
Of panels that insurance carriers don't like. Now, a lot of times, like Citizens, they'll accept all of them. A lot of times, carriers will say, okay, we'll take whatever panel, but if you don't change it within so many days, we're going to cancel you.
Maybe that's what happened, and the insurance agent didn't say.
Yeah, and the insurance agent probably didn't look at the guidelines to say, hey, this is how this is going to play out. And so for us as insurance brokers, it's a little bit difficult. Because if I work with, you know, 20 different insurance companies, let's say, which I work with more than that, but if I work with 20 different insurance companies, well, all of them have this document that they give us of guidelines. And they say, here's what we accept, here's what we don't accept about construction. You know I'm a big construction nerd, which if you know your insurance agent, they should be a construction nerd. I think if you don't know construction and you're an insurance agent, that's dangerous because everything for homeowners insurance plays into construction. But, you know, they give us these documents and we got to know, okay, this carrier A, they will accept slab foundations, but they won't accept open foundations. Or
what's an open
which
foundation?
We don't really see
is that like a wood?
A crawl space?
Okay.
Or like,
they have it up in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, rarely down here we'll see it. You know, who's gonna accept what type of roofs and how old the roofs? Some carriers say we're not going to take a roof that is flat if it's over living space. So carrier C might take it, but not carrier D. Same thing with panels. We'll take Federal Pacific, but we won't take Zinsco. We'll take Zinsco, but we won't take Federal Pacific. And if the agent doesn't know those things, it can mess things up, especially on the back end because underwriting is always quality control.
Right. Any crazy stories other than, you know, obviously a great story that I gave that you helped save a deal?
I mean, typically, you know, I see a lot of things. Like I have one in my inbox now. You know, we can't get insurance anywhere because every insurance agent we've gone to has said we can't prove the age of the roof on this house.
Oh.
And I pay for specific software that pulls permits really quick. So it takes me 10 seconds. I put in the address, that's how long it takes.
I might need a little help.
Yeah, I've got it anytime you want. Well, I'm on the phone with this person and I said, hey, you know, tell me what's going on. We can't get insurance because the roof, nobody can verify it. I said, okay, what's the address? I put it in my little search. Bam, I see they replaced the roof in 2005, so you're actually good. But if you didn't have that, I have this solution, and then I have this third solution. And so those just come from, okay, well, I can get it approved as long as the roof is in good condition. It just takes some time from underwriting. Or I can tell you a policy that has a roof exclusion. All of that to say, Laura, it all comes down to kind of that information. In knowing, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here.
Right.
And having a plan. And speaking too much in black and white can sometimes be harmful because it'll scare the person.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
But
so what's a good way for people to get a hold of you?
It's always my cell phone, which is a little bit scary to say, but you know, like I don't work like a 9 to 5 like most insurance agents. I'm available. If you need me, you can text me or call me. That number is 954-326-9842.
And if you're looking for the best realtor, and I think being number 11 in the United States for RE/MAX out of 138,000 agents is pretty good, give me a call. Laura Sanders, RE/MAX Direct, 954-650-0827. And you can catch me at laurasell.com. And I want to thank you for always listening to us. Until next week.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827. Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. We look forward to seeing you next week.